I was going to say, my name's Kerry Thornley, and I'd like to say a few words about Texas. You say, well, no, actually, I want to talk about taxes, and I want to talk about the institution that government supports, and that's or the institution that taxes support, and that's government. That's the state. So, or I could say, actually, I don't want to talk about a state. I want to talk about the state, whichever. Anyway, I was going to say, and the dirtiest word in politics is probably fascism. You know what that is? That's people who believe that government being a necessary evil, the more evil there is, the more the conditions of necessity are fulfilled. And I said from the anarchist point of view, the only people that don't agree that government's a necessary evil are the anarchists. We only agree with half that statement, that government is evil. I says there's two institutions that are also evil and unnecessary that are actually comprise the hidden agenda of government, and it's actually here to protect two institutions, and that's absentee landlordism and investment banking. For example, who would need welfare during a permanent universal rent strike, And if we issued money on our own credit or collateral directly and had it verified by a mutual bank and so on and so forth, we wouldn't have to pay interest or dividends. And this thinking, I go into Tucker and I talk about him a little, and I say his thinking no doubt inspired Dr. Horace Naismith to found the John Dillinger Died for You Society. That and the petition, Benjamin Tucker, and that and the petition from the Benjamin R. Tucker, Liberty Magazine, that and the petition from John Dillinger's hometown citizens to the governor to let Dillinger go, to pardon him, because he didn't steal near as much from the banks as the banks stole from the people. Like I say, I know about that because Robert Anthony Wilson made me an assistant treasurer in the John Dillinger Died for You Society. With many weighty responsibilities and heavy burdens of office came one perk, and that was the John Dillinger Died for You Society credit card with a hole in the middle of it about the size of a quarter, with instructions on the back to stick a gun barrel through the hole and present the card that way when making a purchase, and to tell them to charge it, and adding that in most states the charge would be armed robbery. And I said that brings us to another objection to anarchism, and that is that everybody would rob everybody. Yes. Without government. I said everybody already robs everybody. It's called taxes. And when you point a gun at somebody, and when you take away something or threaten to point a gun at them, if they don't pay up something that they burned, that's robbing them. When you call it taxes, it's theft. Taxation is theft. Well, everybody would kill everybody, my son said, when he first began to express curiosity about my philosophy and asked me what I was, and I told him I was an anarchist, and he said, what's that? And I said, somebody doesn't believe in government. He says, without the government, everybody would kill everybody. I said, everybody already is killing everybody. It's called national defense. It's called wars. Governments kill more people than could possibly happen any other way. And I feel like if I wanted to argue about it long enough and I want to really get tedious and go into detail, I could prove that the 14 to 18 million people who starve to death every year starve to death because of an absentee land ownership system enforced by the state and national borders patrolled by armed guards and maintained by the state. But rather than talk about that, I'd like to talk about a source of death closer to home for Americans, because most of that starvation is in the third world, and that's the motor car. 55,000 people a year killed in traffic accidents. And they say, well, how's that relate to the state? Then I say, well, taxes pay for highways. They pay for roads. It's the Highway Trust Fund that Eisenhower put together is a government-business partnership. The laissez-faire capitalist philosopher Ayn Rand defined a business-government partnership as fascism. She said any business-government partnership is fascism. In that case, the Highway Trust Fund is certainly fascist. In any case, it fits the earlier definition of fascism. So they're maintaining this obsolete, dangerous, horseless carriage. Shelley Berman, the comedian, once was talking, not to only to mention all the people who are dead because of motor car accidents. Berman was in an airport and was buying some insurance from a vending machine and reading it, and discussing his fear of flying. And he says, there's one word that ought to be stricken from the English language, and that's maimed. And that's the other thing, all the people that are maimed by traffic accidents, that are crippled for life. How many people do you know that have been in traffic accidents? I know quite a few that are still suffering pain or disfigurement in some traffic accident they've been in. I think all that probably led to the button I saw out in California in the mid-'60s that said legalize murder. Why should the state have all the fun? Lovable old Doc Stanley was wearing that button one day over at Open City.